Have you ever noticed how our minds can play this sneaky little trick on us? It's when our feelings get so loud, they start to sound like absolute facts. It happens to all of us, and it usually kicks off with a simple but really powerful thought. I feel like I'm failing. This feels dangerous. I feel stupid. And right there, that's the moment it happens. The moment when those feelings just become our facts. So what is this pattern exactly? Well, there's actually a name for this whole experience. This thing that can so quietly, shape our entire reality. It's called emotional reasoning, and it's what's known as a cognitive distortion, basically a really common thinking error where we start to believe our feelings are a perfect reflection of reality. It's that little voice in our head that whispers, "Hey, I feel it, so it must be true."
So here's how this plays out in the real world. You know that knot of anxiety you get in your stomach? Your brain takes that and translates it to mean you're in actual danger. That little ping of guilt, suddenly, it's proof that you've done something terribly wrong. See what's happening? Your feelings stop being just reactions, and they start being treated like hard evidence. But you gotta ask, why? Why are our brains so quick to fall for this, to trust this kind of deceptive emotional evidence? Okay, let's break down a few examples from everyday life.
All right, picture this, a social situation. You walk into a room and you just feel a bit awkward. Now, emotional reasoning doesn't just stop there. Oh no, it takes this giant leap and concludes everyone here thinks I'm awkward. It just turned a private, internal feeling into what you believe is a public, external fact.
Or how about at work? You finish up a big project and you feel that little flicker of doubt. And bam, suddenly that feeling of uncertainty isn't just a feeling anymore. It becomes the final verdict. The emotional conclusion is, this work is terrible. Your anxiety about the quality gets mistaken for an actual measure of the quality.
And this one's a big one. In our relationships, that feeling of being unloved, it can lead directly to the belief that you are unloved. And this is where it gets really dangerous, because it creates this feedback loop, right? The emotion creates a story, and then that story just feeds the emotion over and over again.
So here's the kicker. The crucial reason why this even happens, our brains, well, they aren't naturally wired to tell the difference between feeling and fact. I mean, think about it from an evolutionary standpoint. This was a feature, not a bug. That sudden jolt of fear, it probably meant a predator was nearby. The feeling was a reliable fact that kept us alive. The problem is, today, our emotions are more often responding to our own thoughts, not a tiger hiding in the bushes. And let's be honest, our emotions are just so convincing, aren't they? They're visceral. You literally feel them in your body. They're immediate. They just show up without asking permission. And here's the most important part. Our emotional system almost always speaks first, and it speaks the loudest, totally drowning out any rational thought that's trying to get a word in. Which brings us to a really critical question. So what? Why does this even matter? Well, it matters because this seemingly small thinking error can have some pretty massive consequences. When emotional reasoning really takes the wheel, it can completely warp how you see yourself. It's like pouring fuel on the fire of anxiety and depression, making you feel trapped. It stops you from looking at situations rationally. It can make you avoid challenges you're totally capable of handling. And maybe worst of all, it can turn a fleeting, temporary emotion into a permanent, painful belief about who you are. Because at the end of the day, when feelings are treated as facts, the actual objective truth, it becomes almost impossible to see. Okay, so that's the problem. But, and this is a big but, the good news is we can absolutely break this cycle. So let's get into how we can start taking back control of our thoughts. All right, here's a practical toolkit you can use. Step 1, name it, but be specific. Focus on naming the feeling, not the fact. So instead of saying, this situation is dangerous, try, I feel anxious. See, that creates some crucial distance. Step 2, look for evidence. Be a detective. Ask yourself, okay, what's the actual proof here outside of how I'm feeling? Step 3, just remember, feelings are temporary. They're like visitors, not permanent residents. They will pass. Step 4, challenge it. This is maybe the most important question you can ask. Is this conclusion actually true, or does it just feel true right now? And finally, step 5, just observe. Practice noticing your feelings come and go, kind of like clouds in the sky, without feeling like you have to believe every single one. And putting all of this into practice, it leads to a much healthier and frankly, a much more accurate perspective on the relationship between our feelings and, the world around us.
And if you remember one thing from this, let it be this. Your feelings are 100% real. They are totally valid. They are happening, but they are not reality. They are your internal reaction to reality. And that, my friends, is a world of difference. What this means is you can feel foolish after asking a question in a meeting without actually being foolish. It means you can feel unloved for a moment, even when you are surrounded by people who deeply love you. The feeling is real, yes, but the story it's telling you, that isn't necessarily true. Which kind of leaves us with this powerful final idea. Clear thinking acknowledges emotion without letting it define truth. It's all about giving our feelings a voice, but not giving them the final vote. So the next time a really powerful emotion hits you, what are you going to ask yourself? Is this actually true, or does it just feel true?